Welcome everyone. It's a pleasure to have you all here today for a very special meetup. We're thrilled to be joined by FisheryuCTO of Babylon. And representing DSRV, we have our very own CTO Hyung-Gu Choi,
Nice to meet you.
who also goes by HQ, since Korean names are a bit tricky sometimes to pronunciate. So I'm Ju, and your moderator of today. Let's give a big warm welcome to Fisher and HQ. Now, it couldn't be a more exciting time to talk about Bitcoin. Just this week, it hit a new all-time high, signaling a renewed momentum and interest in the ecosystem. That makes today's topic even more timely. We'll be diving into the rise of Bitcoin and how it's emerging, its implications for the broader crypto landscape, and how it aligns with the Korean regulatory environment. But before we get into all that, like Fisher, I really needed to ask, how's your visit to Korea so far?
Yeah, so far it has been wonderful. Yeah, like Seoul is becoming my favorite city. Great people, great food, great weather. I can't have enough Korean food.
I mean, yeah, Korean food is the best, so...
Yes. Also the Korean crypto community. I'm also very impressed.
Awesome to hear that. And now let's shift gears and dive into today's topic. Bitcoin staking, a concept that's gaining serious momentum. Let's start with the basics. So Hyung-Gu, first, I would like to ask, could you briefly explain what staking is in general, especially from the perspective of a long-term infrastructure provider like DSRV?
Oh, yeah. So we are talking about the staking in the blockchain industry. And in the blockchain, staking means that providing an asset or liquidity to secure network. We validator as an infrastructure provider entrusted by delegator to validate blocks. For example, we are auditing the transactions and verify that every transactions are legit and there is no problem with block. And each delegators and validator get rewards by validating blocks. So the validator provides an infrastructure to secure blockchain network, and also the network is secured. So in reverse, we can say that blockchain network is secured by the asset. And it's all about proof of stake blockchain.
May I add a little bit
Yeah, sure.
to the security?
Yeah.
So to me, yeah, as HQ said, proof of stake security is about using the asset lock layer to provide validation service, right? Then what makes it secure is if the validator doesn't do what you just described, the asset lock layer can actually be slashed. It's the slashing deters the delegators and validators from doing the wrong things. Right. So that's why the more the stake, asset stake to the network, the higher the security.
Right.
Yeah, I really appreciate the context for both. And for Fisher, obviously, I wanted to ask about what the BTC staking is and how it differs from the traditional POS.
Okay, great question. So my answer is BTC staking is exactly the same as traditional staking. You might ask me, oh, why are you doing something that's already exists? That is because Bitcoin staking does not exist before. Bitcoin chain itself is proof of work chain, so it doesn't need staking. Then Bitcoin chain is also not programmable, so you can't really implement any slashing or smart logics there to detect and verify whether someone did something wrong. So Bitcoin staking did not exist until Babylon invented. So basically, Bitcoin has been a very idle asset sitting there doing nothing. 99% of Bitcoin does nothing. So Babylon Bitcoin staking allow Bitcoin to be staked to secure other networks in the same way as any other POS chains, so that Bitcoin can earn staking reward by your work as a validator. So Babylon Bitcoin staking is the first working utility for Bitcoin. Yeah, and our goal is actually to make Bitcoin staking, the properties it achieves, exactly the same as any POS.
Babylon has created something new to generate staking rewards based on the Bitcoin. Since now we understand the general concept, let's get into the heart of what Babylon is building. So for Fisher, I wanted to ask, could you walk us through the technical flow of the BTC staking on Babylon?
Yes, sure. So we just talked about what is staking, right? Staking is about slashability. Slashing provides the security. So it sounds scary, but slashing is needed. So the key here is how to make Bitcoin slashable. Slashing happens if you do something wrong. So the worst thing you can do to a blockchain is to fork it. So that instead of one ledger, you have two versions of the ledger. This is called the double spending. This is the worst attack you can do to a blockchain at the same height. So yeah, at the same height, you have two forks. So that means you vote for two blocks at the same height. So the key technical enabler of our tech is that if you, as a Bitcoin staker, vote for two different blocks at the same height, then the secret key that lock your Bitcoin there can be cryptographically decrypted so that anyone can use the key, go to the Bitcoin chain and slash the Bitcoin. So it achieves slashing in this way. And we also have other mechanisms to make sure when slashing happens, the Bitcoin is actually burned, not being taken away by someone else. It's actually burned so that there's no incentive to burn other people, to take other people's Bitcoin for fun, right? So that's no incentive. So very importantly, unless you as a Bitcoin staker actually attacks and try to double spend, your Bitcoin is safe. No one else in the world knows about your secret key.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the clarification on the technical floor of things. For Hyungyu, I wanted to ask, since DSRV is now participating as a finality provider, how do you see the responsibilities and opportunities that comes with it?
Yeah, DSRV is participating finality provider from the start day of the mainnet. And for the responsibility, the top priority is that we would like to secure staked BTC safely. As Fisher mentioned, there is a slashing mechanism, but it helps to secure the BSN network. So for last 6 or 7 years, DSRV has been participating in the POS blockchain, many other chains as a validator, and we secure the network without any double signings. And we will bring the same standard of the reliability to the Babylon and also to the BSN as a finality provider. So, and on the opportunity side, Babylon provide us, DSRV, a way to participate in the Bitcoin market, which is much more larger than the other blockchain markets. And by participating as a finality provider, we are trying to help unlock the new utility. As you mentioned, that this is the first utility of the Bitcoin. So we are trying to unlock new utility for Bitcoin while expanding our role as an infrastructure provider, not only in the traditional POS chains, but also with the POW chains.
Thank you for the answer. Now, since we covered how BTC staking works and how Babylon makes it possible, wanted to explore how it fits into the Korean evolving regulatory framework. Since we're in Korea, wanted to ask the DSRV side on the regulation side of things. We've recently seen that Korea took a step forward in allowing corporate crypto ownership. What do you think this means for the staking market?
Recently, that the Korean Financial Service Commission recently began allowing institutions, including corporations, like a listed company in the stock market, can hold crypto under specific conditions. Not everyone can now, but it will be possible in near future. But now only some institutions can hold the crypto. And this is a major policy shift recently because for last several years, no institutions can buy or hold new cryptos in South Korea. So this lay out some groundwork for more institution involvement in Korea crypto space market. And naturally, once institution can legally hold assets like BTC and other cryptos, the next question becomes, how can they put those assets to work when considering the capital efficiency?
And to go further than that, then how does the Korean regulation interpret the staking services?
Currently, under Korea's specific Financial Information Act, there is no written regulations, unfortunately. But basically, the licenses are required for activities such as custodying, trading, exchanging, or transferring or brokeraging of the crypto assets. However, as I mentioned, there is no explicit written regulations right now, and also not written regulations for staking itself. However, based on our advisor, we got our advice that the key of this regulation is all about the control of the crypto asset. So whether we have a control over the crypto asset or not actually matters. So whether or not the provider has the power of transferring or withdrawing or replacing some asset at will is the key to whether or not it is regulated or not. In other words, non-custodial structures are considered unregulated and does not regulate at all. But when we are talking about the custodial structure, it's more under the regulations.
So, to continue on that, would you say that Babylon staking design is compatible with the Korean regulation?
Let's see. Yeah, so I think that the Babylon design is well aligned with Korean regulations right now because it is basically non-custodial. So user can retain their full control over their BTC, and the service provider like us doesn't have any authority to transfer or withdraw funds, which keeps it outside of the regulation scope in South Korea. This approach helps secure compliance while offering secure and efficient BTC staking.
So, where do you think that leaves the custodial staking services?
On an institution demands grows, custodial staking becomes increasingly important, but also more legally sensitive. It requires not only the right technical setup, but also a licensed custodial infrastructure and regulatory compliance. Since DSRV의 holds a custodial license in South Korea, and we can provide a more secure and compliant custodial staking service because we also maintain our own finality provider infrastructures. We worked closely with the regulators and also legal experts in South Korea right now, and to ensure that custodial BTC staking through Babylon is fully compliant and legitimate. That's why, as you may have already seen in the news, that we successfully launched BTC staking service using Babylon recently.
And this is a question that I wanted to ask to
Yeah,
Fisher.
sure.
Is, why BTC staking was designed to be non-custodial?
Okay. So yeah, so when we designed it, we surely didn't take regulation into account because I'm a tech person, have no idea about regulation. The reason why we make it non-custodial is for the users' from safety. Because every Bitcoin holder I talk to, what they require is they ask me is, hey Fisher, please make my Bitcoin work to have safe reward. So safe first, then they talk about reward. So safety is very important. Anytime the staking or whatever Bitcoin utility is custodized, it means there's a counterparty, trusted counterparty, which escrow the Bitcoin, which to the Bitcoin holders is not acceptable because it's not to your keys, not to a coin. So when we design Bitcoin staking, our aim, our core requirement is that it has to be trustless and self-custodial. Because otherwise, technically, it's very simple to do a custodial Bitcoin staking. So that's simple, but it's not secure. Being trustless is the key to convince Bitcoin holders to actually participate in any BTC-Fi.
It's just came out of the curiosity. If you ever thought about the regulation side of things, but I guess it's aligned very perfectly with Korean regulatory.
I think we come from different angle, but the end goal is the same, to make sure the users found it safe.
Babylon meets a lot of institutions, and there are a lot of institutions talking about Babylon. So what would be Babylon's strategy when approaching to those institutions if you have? Like, could you share some insights or the experience that you have?
Yeah, sure. So the way what we communicate with them are different at different stages. So first, we convince them, Bitcoin staking is secure, right? So the technical side. But then, so what? So you have something is secure. So what? Then the next level of explanation is, what does it mean for the institutions? Because now, with very safe Bitcoin staking, the institutions can actually convince their customers to participate in Bitcoin staking. So their AUM, like the asset under their management, become larger.
Yeah.
So that they can make more money as well. And then finally, for more sophisticated institutions that not only provide staking or whatever service, that also do some BTC-Fi activities like lending, stablecoin, swapping, right? Then BTC staking actually to them is a default low-risk reward generation layer for them. So that, for example, if their customer wants to borrow a stable coin against the BTC they have, then their customer can give the BTC to them. They lend the stable coin to their customer while the BTC is under collateralization. The BTC is staked to Babylon to generate some reward to offset the cost of the lending. So which is very good for their lending business, so that they can lower their interest rate or charge less fees to make their product more competitive. So we only came to know about this one very recently when we talked to like super big multinational, because they do provide lending or borrowing services. They told us this is one of the reasons why they consider BTC staking. Then we realized that actually BTC staking is the foundation of BTC-Fi. It's like ETH staking is the foundation of entire ETH DeFi, and like US interest rate is the foundation of the entire world's economy. Like BTC staking is the foundation of BTC-Fi.
Yeah, thank you for sharing the insight. To continue the questions, wanted to zoom out a bit to the exciting frontier of BTC-Fi, where Bitcoin staking becomes a foundation for the composability and the new use cases.
Yes.
How does Babylon plan to ensure composability for BTC-Fi use cases while maintaining the Bitcoin security assumption?
Yeah, sure. So the goal of the Babylon project is to build a Babylon ecosystem which is home to BTC-Fi. That means whatever you want to do with Bitcoin, you want to get Bitcoin security, you want to get Bitcoin liquidity, you want to generate some reward for your Bitcoin, you come to Babylon ecosystem. So for BTC-Fi to actually become something big, the staking layer alone is not enough. On top of that, you need Bitcoin liquidity. That means you can make Bitcoin not just gold nugget, like sitting there doing nothing. And then on top of that, you need a place for the trade to happen, for BTC-Fi to happen. And the trade center will be Babylon Genesis chain. And then there are more specific trading service provided by the Bitcoin supercharger network. So 3 layers: staking layer, liquidity layer, and then the execution or trade layer. So 3 layers to make BTC-Fi happen. Now, with Babylon, as I just mentioned, the staking layer is already trustless, very secure. Then the liquidity layer also needs to be trustless and so that it is secure. And then very unique advantage of Babylon is that we can combine staking and liquidity together, which will create something called liquid staking. Because when you talk about BTC liquidity, actual Bitcoin is locked on the Bitcoin chain. And then a wrapped version of BTC is created on the, say, a Babylon Genesis chain, right? So this is the advantage of the Babylon's liquidity compared to other BTC liquidity provider, because we can combine liquidity and security together.
Thank you for explaining. And could you also explain like how Bitcoin Genesis Bridge, the BitVM2, works and what the role it plays in the Babylon's roadmap?
So for the audience context, BitVM is a new tech that allow Bitcoin chain to be able to verify some off-chain logics. In our earlier conversation, I mentioned that Bitcoin chain is not programmable. It doesn't understand anything about slashing, right? So BitVM is a new tech that allow Bitcoin to understand and verify some off-chain events to some extent. So for Babylon, BitVM is a very important technical ingredient to make Bitcoin liquidity possible. Because for now, there's no trustless Bitcoin liquidity in the market. So Bitcoin still cannot see, hey, I just burned the wrapped BTC. Please give me my BTC back. And then the Bitcoin chain can wait for someone else to report the person, hey, he's lying, or something like. If say within 7 days, this claim is no one challenged it, then the Bitcoin chain will give the BTC back. So it's a challenge-based, report and challenge-based mechanism, allow Bitcoin to somehow feel what's happening outside the Bitcoin chain. So it's a very beautiful technique.
Thank you for sharing the opinion and insight on this.
Thank you so much.
I have one more personal question about currently that Bitcoin, your team, Babylon implemented staking using the time-locked scripts. But when considering the Bitcoin also evolves every time. So I want to hear your expectation or any needs from the Babylon about the Bitcoin. What kind of any features that you are expecting or want, or where direction of the Bitcoin, how they are evolved?
So when we talk about Bitcoin's chain's own evolution, we are mainly talking about adding more with so-called operational code or opcode to Bitcoin to allow the Bitcoin's a chain or script to do more things with Bitcoin. So there are currently two candidates on the table. One is called OP-CTV, Check Template Verify, which verifies, which can allow you to predefine how a certain UTXO can be spent in the future. This is one opcode. The other opcode is called OP-CAT, concatenation, which allows you to use Bitcoin. This one sounds very simple, okay? It allows you to use Bitcoin script to text strings together. But this thing, it can open a can of worms for Bitcoin, because if you use in an abused way, it can fully like screw up the Bitcoin chain. So between these two, the OP-CTV has much higher chance to be accepted by the Bitcoin mainnet than OP-CAT. So, but for Babylon, both are good for us because there is no OP-CTV. Babylon has to implement some very sophisticated crypto magic to make sure when slashing happens, Bitcoin goes to burn address, not to be taken away by any random person. But with this OP-CTV, we can predefine that yes, if the Bitcoin is slashed, the UTXO actually is spent and go to a burn address, so that our system will become much more simple and efficient with OP-CTV. And then OP-CAT, once that is enabled, it will make the BTBM technology that I mentioned earlier much easier, much simpler. Yeah, so we have like open arm for the upgrade of Bitcoin. But even without that, I think Babylon can live without it. Because one philosophy we have in Babylon is we are always self-contained. We don't like count our future on other people's mercy. Yeah, so that's very important.
I see. Yeah, thank you for sharing your insights. Yeah.
So are there any challenges, technical challenges, in expanding Babylon into BSN or any other ecosystem?
Yes. So technical challenge there is because the goal of Babylon is to use Bitcoin to supercharge the entire altcoin universe. But there are so many different type of altcoins there. You have ETH rollup, Bitcoin rollup, all sorts of Cosmos SDK chains, like Move VM chains. So like many different chains. For them to get Bitcoin security and Bitcoin liquidity, the solution or the integration solution for them are very different. But we have limited resources. We don't launch the whole thing in one go. We have to launch it gradually to develop the support for different tech stacks one by one. For example, the integration with rollups is the simplest one. So we will first launch our what we call a phase 3 mainnet launch with rollup integration first, and then Cosmos chain, and then other blockchains to make Bitcoin staking, Bitcoin liquidity a generic one that anyone can easily get access to. But it takes some time.
Thank you much.
Yeah, so I would say Babylon infrastructure is one of the most complex but fundamental one for the crypto world. Yeah, so I'm very happy to have DSRV and other like ecosystem collaborators to work on this together. It is really a giant system.
It's honor on our end as well to join you guys on this journey. I wanted to thank you both. We've covered a lot of ground today, and from staking fundamentals to Babylon's technical design, regulatory fit for Korea, and the future of BTC-Fi. And before we're wrapping up, I wanted to end with a big question for you guys, for both of you guys to talk about. So if BTC staking becomes widely adopted, what could it unlock for Bitcoin, for institutions, and for decentralized infrastructure?
For the institutions, that I think that they are very cautious of the security and they are concerned about the risk management kind of thing, and that because of the inherently that Babylon stake in the Bitcoin chain, not in other chains, and they do not breach their BTC tokens. I think that for the institutions, it opens a new way to exploit their capital. And as you already mentioned, that in the BTC-Fi aspect, that I don't know how it works, but it just opened the new opportunities to many institutions. So that's what I can say because I'm not a businessman. But as a decentralized infrastructure like us, we are now finally involved in the unexplored market like a Bitcoin market, which was a proof of work blockchain space. And it also opens the opportunity for us. So I think that thanks to the Babylon,
Yes.
I think it opens opportunities for both institutions and to the decentralized infrastructure like us.
So if Bitcoin staking become everywhere, then the foundation of BTC-Fi is laid very
Yes.
solidly. Then we will be able to really convince all the Bitcoin holder, all the 2 trillion Bitcoin, to actually put their Bitcoin to work. No matter it's retailer or institution, to put it to work, to participate in BTC liquidity and then to participate in BTC trading. And also, it will actually greatly help the altcoin networks because now Bitcoin can exchange values with the altcoin world, so that Bitcoin is getting mainstream adoption, so that altcoin can also get mainstream adoption following the big brother Bitcoin, so that entire crypto world will become a more united and better place and become a part of the mainstream world instead of most of the altcoins are within the crypto cycle, right? So eventually, I wish Babylon ecosystem to be the go-to place for BTC-Fi, the hometown for BTC-Fi, and then help the entire crypto place to become a better place and become part of the mainstream world, so that everyone holds crypto.
Yes, that's
That's it.
the end of the questions that we have today. So
Okay,
thank you both.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.